Not exactly hidden. And I hope that they would keep the music at a nice, subdued level, Koga notes as the numerous discordant songs kick off again as the floor reverts to its normal state. Duels are fairly common entertainment at these venues. We move on from them quickly. So I would have to keep dueling constantly in order to keep the music to acceptable levels. Koga considers out loud even as they both return to where their plates were left floating. He smirks a little as he sees a medically trained servant checking over some silly-looking noblewoman. She clearly tried to eat some of his food. Not wise. Not wise at all. He casually pops a bit of rolled meat into his mouth. It's lightly spiced and very tasty with an earthy aftertaste that mellows things out and dulls the ever-so-slight burning into a pleasant tingle. "You didn't just eat that, did you?" the medic asks. "It's my food to begin with. I'm fine," Koga says, and she whips around and scans him. "Holy, I've heard of human biology, but this is incredible. Yeah, that food is decent for you. Outright edible, really," the medic says before turning back to her patient. "Good news, milady. It wasn't an assassination attempt. You just ate off the plate of a being who prefers his food so intense that a Canador would develop heartburn with every bite. No, that I am Lady Hari note. The Apuk noble tries to get up and then sits down as she groans in pain. "You ate the wasabi equivalent, didn't you?" Koga asks in amusement. "The what?" Hari note asks, and Koga dips a roll of meat into the bright green wasabi replacement and holds it up. Her eyes widen and then widen further as he eats it with ease. A little tame compared to actual wasabi, but it has the flavor mostly right. "You usually take it stronger?" the medic asks. "Yes. And if you think this is extreme, Mexican and Indian food is generally a lot more intense," Koga notes. "You really shouldn't eat off another's plate. You never know when the other person has a taste for poison." "Insane monkey beast," the noblewoman mutters to herself as he guts Rebel a bit further and a device is placed against her stomach. It doesn't pierce the dress or flesh, but it extracts something from her, and she calms a little. That's the spirit. Koga cheers as he pops another touch of food into his mouth and rests his palm on the kashira of his sword. What he feels causes him to raise an eyebrow and actually look at the weapon closely. There are fracture lines and cuts on the kashira, but he only bonked the flat of his opponent's sword with it. He pulls the sheathed sword out of his sash and unveils it a bit to examine where he parried with it. "I don't understand. I reinforced this weapon heavily. Why is it so damaged?" The stress fractures and hairline cracks and scratches hint at extreme weapon use and negligence rather than a single duel. What was that sword made of to do something like this to his? He had sensed something odd in it, but never imagined anything like this. "Weapon damage?" Uthtir asks. "Yes, it's severe too. I would have only been able to parry maybe 2 more swings before the weapon snapped entirely. But Vasil Mazel wasn't anywhere near strong enough to do something like this, and she wasn't focusing Axiom in any way that would cause this. So why? How?" "Her sword," Uthtir says. "There are more than just well-enhanced metals for crafting powerful weapons. There are ultra-thin molecular rift, micro-thin, micro-serrated and sintered. Those are just some of the more common ones. They need no axiom, have few if any moving parts, and are extremely dangerous, but also very difficult to make, so they're usually treated well." "What's sintered?" Koga asks as he vaguely understands the rest as a razor's razor, a power sword, a razor's razor, and the steak knife's psychotic serial killer cousin. "It's what your opponent used in the duel," the medic states. She offers Koga a grin. "Parrying a sintered weapon with a normal one is no small feat. By all rights, she should have shattered your sword and taken your forearm off on the first swing." "Well, I'm glad she didn't. But seriously, what's a sintered weapon?" Koga asks. Sintering is a natural process where sediments layer upon each other and are crushed down into a solid. Sedimentary rock can be defined as sintered. In this case, a sintered weapon is one made of thousands, if not millions of tiny blades layered and gravitationally pressed together until they join as a single mass. A blade of blades. Even the flat of a sintered weapon is nothing but a field of blades. Often extremely durable substances are used, but sintered weapons are often expensive because in order to be practical, they're usually also made of hyperlight alloys that are expensive to manufacture. You can make one on the cheap of other heavier materials, but they weigh 5 to 6 times more than most weapons. That can be useful too. A sintered hammer that has that kind of weight to it. More impact and it cuts. Koga considers. It sounds like a hard-to-make, but brutally effective analog anti-armor weapon. Something that can't be detected by anything short of a metal scan. No moving parts and pure, simple answer. He's brought out of that bit of musing by a hand waving in front of his face. You had a very evil look there. Uthtir notes and Koga smirks. Much like that, yes. Oh, just thinking mostly about how to use sintering technology to make a better weapon. That's how some mercenary companies get a reputation for disgustingly dangerous weapons. Uthtir notes calmly. Disgustingly dangerous weapons in the hands of incredibly dangerous soldiers? Sounds like a winning formula, Koga says, and Uthtir gives him a reproachful look. What? Perhaps not here? Although if you're going to duel again, then you'll need another weapon. Uthtir states. That weapon of yours is nearly undone. Is it? Koga asks, as he holds the sheathed sword in front of him and places his right hand on the pommel. He then focuses and the formula pieces itself together in his mind. He opens his eyes and examines the weapon. It is undamaged once more. Thank you, Vernon. Vernon? He's come up with a few techniques that he's insisting up and down become part of the standard Undaunted technique list. This is one that made it a repair and restoration meditation. It's not the fastest, but it can fix anything you have so long as you have all the pieces. Koga explains before thinking. Still, what was it about a sintered weapon that caused those microfractures? Possibly the fact that each micro portion of the weapon was somehow carrying the full weapon's weight on it. Each. But that was beyond simply having a weapon made of blades layered on each other. He'd have to examine that sword personally, and maybe even get it under a powerful scanner to figure it out. But first, he'd have to get his hands on the weapon, which means he's putting Vassal Mazel on a list. A list that he should have honestly started earlier, but the sheer overindulgence of the party distracted him. It's a list of people who need their homes invaded and secrets stolen. Of course, in her case, it may just be a public request for information that tells people what their guards were hauling around. There are few better ways to scare off the truly stupid than letting them know just how much hell is in the way between them and a prize. And guards with sintered blades and the will to use them. That's pretty discouraging for anyone who isn't heavily armored. You've drifted off again. What are you planning? Uthtir asks him. Oh, just some trouble to get into. Peace is restful and all, but problems are where the fun is at. So you don't want peace, you want problems. I want a balance, peace to rest, problems to test. And I'm currently in a nice, calm, relaxing part of my life, which means I need to do something to shake it up a little, Koga says, and she gives him an odd look. Tell me, are you more awake and alert now that you're helping with the reconstruction of Nodok and all the political ramifications that have come of it, or less? Have you grown as a person because of it or not? I have, but I don't think the loss of a town and thousands of lives is worth that kind of growth. I may be better at handling crisis, but that doesn't mean I'm going to seek them out. Of course not. You're in a stage of problems. I've run through mine faster though, so I'm in my stage of peace and I've gotten more than enough rest. I need to push again. to grow as a person, Koga remarks. So you're not training? I am, but training can only be done in certain ways and in certain things. My swordsmanship can carve bullets out of the air. My hand-to-hand combat is fast and accurate enough that the sound barrier is my biggest obstacle. With the dark forest, I can face armies without fear and flawlessly escape any ruinous situation. But, well, training is only good enough until it's not. So if you don't keep pushing, don't keep evolving, you just stop. So I'm getting a look in the Undaunted philosophy, Uthtir asks in an honestly fascinated tone. Somewhat. We're the best Earth had to offer. You don't become the best and you don't stay the best if you don't keep pushing, competing not only with the entirety of your species, but with yourself as well. A few nights back, I bisected a bullet aimed for my head. I deflected another and redirected two back at their sender. I had warning to deflect those shots. I had a vague idea of where they were coming from before the attack started. I want to reach a level where I don't need a warning, where I can simply react and block those blows. In other words, you want to be a battle princess and a sorcerer simultaneously. Pardon? Think about it. A battle princess is an immense physical threat. A sorcerer is an existential one. Trying to be both is, well, that's dangerous. And compared to some of the people out there, it's barely enough to get someone's attention, Koga remarks. He can clearly remember the report of the empty hand master, who had caught and slammed a laser beam into her opponent. That was a level of speed and control well beyond him. For now. Excuse me, a new voice says, and Koga turns to see the battle princess that they had been in line behind earlier. Yes, Koga asks, politely. May I have the next duel, please? She asks. A fair question. You haven't given any offense, so I'm not certain. Baroness Tyr, may I duel the battle princess? Koga asks. Are you mocking me? Uthtir asks incredulously. If I am, then it's completely inadvertent, I assure you, Koga says, and Uthtir just shakes her head in amusement. Well, if you don't have an issue with a more dangerous duel, then by all means have one. Though do bear in mind that if you get injured, the party is going to be considerably less enjoyable. Uthtir advises, and he nods. Of course, which means we need some rules. To first blood or disarmament? Koga asks, and the battle princess considers. I think that works. I'm rather new to the scene. Most recently appointed battle princess. Ah, that's why you're familiar. I caught sight of your victory. Terry Foos, wasn't it? It is. I would have gotten it sooner, but there was the drama with your friend Vernon. Oh, yes, that was a hell of a thing. Koga admits and tries not to admit that the man's sense of drama had basically given all of humanity a solid boot through the door into Apuk culture and goodwill, leading to Koga being here today. Go figure. It was so sweet, a man so deeply in love that even a title means nothing next to his wife. Terry gushes before sighing as she looks away. Anyways, I was hoping to have a bit of fun, and you look like you need a proper opponent. If you have time to think up some weird philosophy or poems or whatever that was in the last duel, then you clearly weren't getting enough stimulation. I think his problem is that this kind of party is a little too stimulating for his delicate sensibilities. He's been looking for an excuse to duel as it causes our musicians to tone down the music. Oh, that's perfect. I'd be happy to help. Even if it is just a disarming or first blood, Terry Foos says cheekily. That sounds wonderful then, and it seems I have permission, so who do we tell? My last opponent made a bit of a scene, you see, so I'm not sure on the formal declarations to... Koga begins to ask before the music shifts and things start changing. Oh? Looks like we'll have to wait our turn. Another duel is starting.